Is it off?
It's right under. It's on your signature.
259?
You got 1 minute.
How far was that off? Just a minute or two?
Yeah, a minute and a half.
We lose a minute every month or two with that analog clock.
That's battery powered, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
That's why.
Yeah, there's a voltage drop.
Three o'clock, I'll call this meeting to order. Attendance, Jonathan,
Yes, President.
Susan,
Present.
Martha's here. Documents. Matthew, do you have anything
Yeah, I believe
today?
you may have picked it up already this morning, but it's the drafted budget schedule for the fall. I can reprint you another copy if you need, but
Yeah, I think I put it back in my other folder, but I did another one, I appreciate it.
Sue, would you like a copy? Or do you, oh, you have it in your hand, perfect.
You got yours. I took it home, put it in the other folder.
I'd like to just briefly discuss it.
Very good, thanks, Matt.
My pleasure. So we do have John, who will be unavailable for a little bit of time in October and early November, as well as TJ has some commitments. I changed the order quite a bit to accommodate that they could be here, especially with TJ with his large budgets. In order to do that, I am proposing a Selectmen's meeting on Tuesday, October 10. That's the Columbus Day holiday week. We wouldn't normally meet that week. We wouldn't normally meet on Tuesday, but that will allow John and TJ to be here for the bigger and more robust budgets. And along with that, I also drafted the outside agency application cover letter for the year. I'd like to send it out so that there's plenty of time. I don't know that budget committee really needs to reapprove it. I just don't want to get to budget committee and have them say, well, we think we should add this or that this year, because I really don't, it wouldn't be good to go back to the outside agencies and require different things, so I guess I was thinking your thoughts on that.
Reapprove what?
The application that they would fill out.
The budget committee doesn't normally approve that.
Well, they had a bunch of very specific thoughts and feedback a couple of years ago, and that was specific to, I guess, the time period of COVID, what services were still being offered and such, but they have wanted certain things on it in the past, so I'm just saying, at least like your blessing, if not getting the budget committee's blessing before sending it out.
Well, when's the next meeting, the 20th?
Yes, so if we wait till that, that's what I've been told. The secretary told you that, but she hasn't publicized the meeting on that date. It's not noticed anywhere yet.
Right.
But if so, then they would have around 30 days. So I'm looking for your.
If you're concerned about changes, then I would wait till the 20th.
Okay, perfect. That's.
If you're not concerned, then I would just send it.
I'm marginally concerned, I would say.
Is it a lot?
I don't know if they have anything they want to change.
Right, and
This is the, so I usually do this cover letter, and then there's like the 6-page application, which you've seen every year, more or less is the same. I've only changed things a little bit to, like the organization type, and it would say like 501c3 versus other types of nonprofits, a little bit more. Yeah, just different based on whatever was the hot button issue at the budget committee, but I don't know.
So what you're asking is,
Should I send the
send
applications?
this out to the people, do you want the budget committee to see it first?
That's kind of what I'm asking your advice on, if I
Okay.
should
Got
wait.
no say in it anyway.
No, they really don't, but, I mean, they've already modified it, we've modified it once before.
Yeah, I
And if
edited
you see a
it 20.
benefit in sending it sooner than later,
Yeah, I mean.
does it help these organizations to get it out sooner, you think?
I think so.
Then send it out.
They asked for a lot
Because
of
they-
information, it should be a little time consuming to make that
Yeah.
application.
I agree, I guess I was just thinking if we go into budget committee and they complain that they don't have a say in it, that I get some backing from the board, that we
Yeah.
made a decision to get
And if
more
they-
time out.
They, almost every outside agency provides more than enough information to the committee.
That's
And
how I
if they
feel.
want something different, they can make them come back. I mean, the budget committee can make them come
Right.
back, so.
I
It's not like
and
they-
I'd hate to see that happen too, so I
Right.
try to make it a win for everybody, but there should be plenty between that and if they don't, I guess if the budget committee also wants something in addition, I can reach back out before they come in and present to the budget committee.
Mhm.
And along with that, for the past 2 years, if it's a repeat agency with relatively steady funding, the selectmen hasn't made them come in and do their song and dance because we know these organizations inside and out. Is that how the Board of Selectmen feels again this year, if it's a every year applicant with relatively the same funding?
If it's, yeah, I mean,
Nothing's changed.
I'm gonna review the financial documents, if it's the same as the previous year, there's absolutely no reason for the person to come here, from, as far as I'm concerned, but
No,
unless you guys have a different opinion.
no, I feel the same way.
Okay, great, that's excellent. So I would like the board, please, to potentially vote on this schedule, because I don't want to roll it out to the BC until the BOS has said it will work for you. Again, the special note that Columbus Day week, we would have a meeting on Tuesday to accommodate this, but I think it's well worth it to make sure John and TJ can be here.
Second, Tuesday, Monday.
And TJ, you're really seeing it for the first time today. I just want to make sure it works for you as well.
Yeah, all of them. The
Got a lot of big,
second,
budgets.
fourth, I won't be here, but the other ones I will.
Looks fine with me.
Yep. I'll make a motion to approve the proposed budget committee, the budget review schedule for 2024.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
thank you. That's it for me.
The minutes that I have here for the meeting last week, I just have two things on them. The second page where we denied the exemption for the Masonic Lodge, and I didn't talk about how you can't get an abatement to bypass the exemption law. I said, as noted in the Bodwell report. I think that's important, because that was in the Bodwell report from DRA.
Did you note that in writing?
I put it on here, and then the other one was, I made a motion to approve the software for the police department,
For
certification software, and it says, I made a motion, Eldridge seconded, but it didn't say it passed. And I think it passed, because it was, I assume it should be noted that it
Of
passed,
course.
although it needs to be noted, unless we didn't make,
Unless you skip the actual.
unless
vote.
I skipped the actual motion, which is, wouldn't be, did you happen to note that?
I don't know it off my
Yeah.
memory, but you can check it.
Yeah, so we'll have to just have Andy double check that.
Yep. You want me to take it from you now?
I guess, just to confirm.
Yeah, I think she's left for the day.
Is she? Yeah, so
Angie.
we can
Okay.
have a check on it.
Yeah, just check the video, I put
Yeah.
it down.
What's easy, when they paving Huckins?
Fine grading's Wednesday.
This Wednesday? What do you mean fine grading?
They're gonna go over and grade it, get it back into shape, and Blake, I think they're gonna start on Blake Hill.
And then they're gonna pave it when?
What's that?
And then they're gonna pave it when?
That'll be their schedule. I just know they're coming in. They won't be long, because they won't leave it long after they fine grade it, because if it rains or anything, it'll.
Did the board formally make Selectman Smith the budget committee
Yeah.
rep this year?
Yes.
We did that several months ago.
Oh, yeah.
You know how well I like doing that.
I know.
made sure that was done.
I know you hate to give that up and everything.
Lost my agenda.
That's the only thing, it's the only thing on it for.
I had it right here. Oh, here it is, I got it.
Okay.
I'll probably say that downstairs too, about the, just update on the paving.
Yeah,
Some police department's done. They gotta do Nud Road and top, covered bridge road too.
I missed it. What'd you say about Huckins? Soon, but we don't know.
Wednesday,
exactly.
they're gonna do the fine grading, and they don't usually let it go very long after fine grading, because they don't wanna do it again. So it'll probably be Thursday or Friday, maybe next week, maybe next week.
have you heard anything from FEMA regarding?
Yep, I just got an email, actually, while I was sitting here. They need 2 more things, and then they can start issuing payment.
Are they big things or they
No,
minor?
locations.
Oh. What, do you take a picture with your phone, document it?
So I have an app that puts a longitude, latitude on it, and it sends a picture of the start and stop. And they were missing one. I gotta get that to them, and there was one other thing. But it was small. Oh, an invoice from Allstate Construction for the paving on Pine Hill. That is on there somewhere, I just have to resend it to him, because he was having a hard time with so much documentation, he thinks it got lost in there.
Nothing from MHA yet.
We received an invitation, I guess you call it, from the Selectmen in Molten Borough. And I believe that it just sounds to me like they just want to have a big meeting with all surrounding selectmen. I'm not sure what it's to be about, which is it, should we be looking into going, and if not, we should notify them that we're
Do you know when it is, or,
not. It's in my email.
you didn't get it, Matt? I didn't get it.
I got one that I forwarded to you guys. that
Yeah, I get the
was-
email, and I left it in there because we haven't really decided what we're gonna do about it. Listen to, I've got it here, wait, be patient.
You were,
Matt, do you remember what it was referencing? Do you?
Now it says, dear colleagues, an objective for my Board of Selectmen going into our next fiscal year is for us to research into potential collaborations with other neighboring communities. Our thoughts are that we have regional quarterly meetings with our neighbors to see if we can work on public service costs and savings or share our community interests. Therefore, I ask if you can forward this request to the board. Let me know if they might be interested in holding these meetings. Anybody?
That's from the town administrator, I got it.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember this email.
Yeah.
This is going back.
But I just figured if we're not gonna do anything, we at least owe them a response.
So,
It's,
he's looking to meet, not the board, the town administrator. That's what it seems like.
no, it says,
No.
I thought it said, objective for my board.
yeah, an objective from my Board of Selectmen going into our next fiscal year. I thought about it, I mean, I suppose if we all got together, they might have some ideas that would help us, we might have some that would help them.
Madam Chair, point of information.
But,
Point of information. I can offer you some more information on this. Tamworth also had this letter sent to them,
yeah,
and they're going to send their town administrator. They just want a representative from each board so they can discuss possible regional cooperation. That's it.
I think on the face of it, it's a good idea. If it turns out to be pointless to meet every quarter, then don't do it anymore. But I think Matt can go as representative, and, you know, if there's something important, I can go if the board so chooses to send me.
yeah.
There's no harm in participating early on. If it turns out to be fruitless,
Waste of
then
time or
we just don't
something,
do it
yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
So, do you wanna participate with that, Matt?
Sure, if you want me to.
Yeah. And would the board object if I went?
No,
Okay,
that's
if
fine.
there's something that Matt thinks it's relevant for me to go, I'll go.
That if he just reports back what's going on, but if it's something you should follow through with,
Yeah.
It's a gab session.
Yep. So you'll respond, I guess, that email now?
I will.
Thank you.
That shit's about like paving and salt, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm just
What we're
trying,
to do.
trying to run through my head what could be costly. It can't be a transfer station, because people
No,
aren't gonna
You
travel
wanna
that far.
go, you wanna
I'll
go with
bet
me
you
in
it's,
case it's.
because we've already been in discussion with other towns about paving, salt,
Salt.
delineation,
Salt buy,
tire
paving,
buys, all that
tire
kind of
buy.
stuff that we can do.
fuel,
Fuel,
fuel oil,
paving would be a big one.
yeah.
You wanna go with me, or?
I was just gonna say,
Doesn't
isn't
matter to
that
me, but
kind of the place
I'm
to go?
guessing that's what it is, because we've all had the conversation as far as public works directors about it. I just talked to Wolfboro the other day, obviously, you know, Alton.
Yep.
We're just working on something with Allstate to try to see if they can work with us. Give us a lower per ton price if we work as a whole instead of individual towns.
You don't recall the date on that email, do you, Martha?
I might look it up, it's right here. Don't know that they actually, they sent this to us on August 17th.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, that's when I got it. Now, when you, I figured you sent it right out.
Yes, I did. 1 minute after getting it. Okay.
Might not, might be something different.
No, that all makes sense.
Isn't that somewhat what we did with the ambulance contract?
Yeah, it's a regional,
We do it now with like delineation.
Yeah,
We have other towns come here and get it, but we get them for a lot cheaper because we buy more.
yeah.
I just wonder, like on paving, what company's large enough to be able to handle all these towns? Who do they use to pave, do you know?
Well,
I don't know if
same
they-
ones we get the quotes from, but like Allstate is big enough for Continental or any of them really,
Right.
GMI.
We used to use FR Carroll.
That's
Out of
Allstate
Maine.
now.
Oh,
They
that's
bought,
Allstate.
Allstate
You bought
Materials
that?
bought FR Carroll, yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Okay, I just replied to Charlie Smith and Wilbur, so we'll see when.
Okay. Do you have anything to shoot, Sue?
I just have, this is your renewal for your health officer. We gotta renew Matt's health officer
Oh,
nomination form, because we only nominate, actually, DHHS appoints. So his needs to be renewed, so I'll make a motion to approve the nomination for Matt Sawyer as the town health officer.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So once we signed it,
Doing more and more with it all the time.
I know.
you want this straight back?
Yep, please, thank you. Thank you.
I guess if nobody else has anything, we will make a motion to recess until 4:15.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
3:17.
Rails next time we want to go down through there.
What?
The little sleigh truck with the down rail.
They'll take you for a ride.
Yeah, I asked Bruce about it. He said, "Okay, next time I'll let you know."
Just talk to any of them, they'll take you for a ride.
Yeah, we took a ride back down through this fence.
How far did they get in?
You two are the only ones I ever hear on the board. When you're talking,
Your clock is fast.
It
sounds like you're making comments.
He's always talking in my ear the whole
I
time.
hear it. Everybody hears.
You hear it now?
That would be a good movie. You two just commenting.
Oh, they do. They say something.
I feel like the
They
two old
comment.
guys up there.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, you should, that's right. You should record the voiceover later and then like,
I don't know, it is that way.
Yeah.
I just can't turn it off.
you two are not allowed to sit next to each other. We're gonna have to separate your dirty laps.
Oh, yeah, right.
It's true, it's true.
You sound just like my sister, Walter.
Exactly. This one, you want one meeting location, very small. And now, so now, whole change that you're on. Not connected to the video. So the transcription is directly.
I've seen them.
That's where you have to transcribe correctly.
With that recorder.
Something you'd stick in the belly.
Go back and play the transcript while they're talking. Pick it up, just write down what you said.
Maybe he doesn't want to know what I say.
All set in? All set? Okay, it's 4:15, we're gonna reconvene the meeting, and I ask you to join us in the pledge of allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If everybody can remain standing for a minute, just have a moment of silence. 22 years ago today, we lost many Americans, and we lost many more Americans fighting the war on terror for the following 20 years. So just give a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Thank you.
This time I'll open the meeting up for the first public input. Does anybody have anything?
I'm just here to listen today.
Nothing?
Not today.
You're an agenda item following
Yeah.
public input.
Okay, then I guess if there's no public input, we will go right to the community power purchasing. Explain.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. State Representative Glenn Cordelli, State Representative,
Katie Parnell, represent Tuckenboro and Wolfboro.
we both represent those two towns, and I also represent Ossipee. So this morning, we made this presentation to the town of Tuftonboro. And so we're here this afternoon to talk about community choice aggregation, which is really community purchasing of electricity for small businesses and residents in the town, increased buying power. And it's fairly new to New Hampshire, not new to the rest of New England, but it has great promise given the electric rates we've seen here in New Hampshire. And so we thought this was a good opportunity to bring this to your attention. Representative Peternell and I have met with Freedom Energy Logistics of Auburn and Colonial Power of Massachusetts. Would you like to talk a little bit about the background?
Just a little bit about how we got here. In 2019, SB 286 was passed to amend RSA 53E. You know what those are. Allowing municipalities to develop plans for electricity aggregation. This is also known as community choice aggregation. And this option can give communities more local control over their electricity sources, potentially decreasing electric rates or generating access to renewable energy. Massachusetts was the first state to pass community choice aggregation in 1997, and to date, 10 states have enabled community choice aggregation. As Representative Cordelli said, we've spoken with the partnership of Colonial Power and Freedom Energy, and we wanted to see if it would possibly be a good fit for Ossipee. I'm pleased to introduce Stuart Ormsby of Colonial Power Group for more specific details of how community choice aggregation is implemented.
Thank you for having me. We really need to advance this slide.
Yep.
Thank you very much. just a quick intro to Colonial Power Group. As introduced, we're a small energy consulting firm out of Massachusetts, and we've had sort of a long relationship with Freedom Energy here in New Hampshire, and they've sort of tapped us to give them a hand just because of our experience in Massachusetts. We currently work with about 90 programs in Massachusetts. Municipal aggregation is the only thing our consulting firm does. We specialize in it. There's more details about the company in the slides, but we'll kind of skip ahead to what you want to hear about. So, community choice aggregation, as mentioned, it's a buying pool. It's an opportunity to access lower rates and more options for consumers, taking advantage of the large buying pool of consumers. One of the most important things to understand about these programs, and it's how the statute in New Hampshire is written, these are opt-out programs. And so what that means is that any consumers who are currently taking electricity supply from either Eversource or the New Hampshire Co-op, they're automatically considered an eligible customer. And so they would be brought into the program unless any individual customer elects to opt out. Which is perfectly fine. This is meant to be an option, choice for consumers. No one's going to force anyone to be in a program they have no interest in being a part of. And there's a lot of flexibility with these programs. People maybe initially are hesitant about the program. They'd like to see how it operates initially, so they'll opt out initially. Maybe their neighbors have very positive reactions from the program, and then they can easily opt in later. There's never any exit fees. If someone starts with a program and decides 6 months in, this isn't for me, I don't like it, you can opt out. There's no termination fee or exit fee. So we try to make it as easy as possible for people to come and go if they wish to. Again, why this works, why this is effective, again, it's the buying pool aspect. And because it's an opt-out program, and because with our experience, a very small percentage of customers actually opt out at the onset. You might see somewhere between an 8 and 12% opt-out rate. So people come in, and there's a lot of experience with suppliers that we work with who've been serving these programs now for a better part of a dozen years. They're familiar with how these programs operate, and the fairly small ebb and flow of load coming in and out. And so they're able to offer very attractive rates for consumers. So we'll advance to the next slide. I think one thing, actually, if you could go back, go ahead, I apologize. One of the things I wanted to mention, which is the last bullet point on that last slide, I can just talk about it, is there's not a need to sort of overemphasize the size aspect. In other words, it doesn't take very long for a community to get to a sufficient size where you are an attractive option for suppliers. The Walmart effect only takes you so far. One of our clients in Massachusetts happens to be the city of Boston. So you might think, wow, they must get the lowest rates. And no, they're about in the middle. Because again, when you get to a certain size, if they start getting too big, that's actually difficult for suppliers to serve just because the load is so gigantic. But one of the options available to you, and there's been some discussion already, particularly here in Carroll County, with some of the towns to form like a loose coalition. Nothing formal, we're not talking about a joint agency or anything like that. But if, say, a half dozen towns decided, well, we'd like to procure together, but the deal is you want to maintain all your local decision-making and all your local control. You want to have your own rate, and you want to make your own product selections. And so the suppliers understand that, and they can work with that, but the suppliers can get a better rate for this loose coalition because they understand it's a winner-take-all. So if you win this bid, you get to serve these 6 towns, but they have their own independent decision-making. So I think that's important. One drawback in the more formalized pool buying is typically you're making sort of joint decisions around product selection, and also no matter how you slice it, if you buy together, like each town has sort of their own load profile. You would have a different price than your neighbor, because no town is identical to one another. So no matter what, there's some element of cross-subsidization if you go into a formal joint buying pool. So that's why we like these sort of informal, that way you can get the best price possible for your residents. So some of the highlights on the program, and while we're waiting for the slide to advance. Again, choice is a big thing, leverage, price stability. You know, one of the things that you all experienced here with electricity prices over the last year, you saw some of the highest prices this past winter than you've ever experienced. And with these programs, typically, in our experience, towns like to go for like a 2-year or a 3-year contract. And that affords more price stability than you're accustomed to getting with the 6-month change in prices each time with utility. One thing, I'm not sure to what extent folks in your community are getting phone calls from third-party suppliers and trying to coax them into contracting directly. There's a lot of advantages with these programs because you as the town get to dictate the contract terms as opposed to the other way around. So there's lots of consumer protections built into these contracts. In terms of funding, there's no cost to the town. So our consulting fee is put into the contract price, and I'll tell you right now, our fee is 1/10 of a penny per kilowatt hour. So if the winning supplier on a bid is 10 cents a kilowatt hour, the final price that the customer would pay would be 10.1 cents per kilowatt hour. You have full decision for local control on product options. A lot of towns like to provide multiple options for their customers. So you might have one product that focuses on getting the lowest price possible. Another product might have some additional renewable content, which comes at a little higher price. And customers can opt into that extra green product if they wish. We already talked about sort of predatory business practices and this as being a valuable alternative to the direct contracting market. So we'll go to the next slide. Just a few other things to touch on. The billing is still done through the utility company. So customers would still receive a single bill, either from the co-op or for Eversource. The only thing that changes is just a single line item on the bill. Instead of being the co-op supply, it would be Ossipee's town supply. Any utilities, of course, they're still responsible for the wires, the metering. If any consumer is receiving some extra services from the utility, maybe energy assistance programs, this doesn't interfere in any of that. Those things still continue. One thing, the last bullet point here is, the typical question is, well, what can I expect for savings? Are those savings guaranteed? We can't guarantee savings. I mean, what this is trying to be more strategic in doing procurement on your behalf. The utility companies in particular are going to focus on Eversource with this comment. They're directed by the utility commission to make a purchase every 6 months. The alarm clock goes on the 10th of July. They're supposed to buy. This could be a horrible day to buy. It was the day that Putin invaded Ukraine. That was the worst time to buy, but they're directed to buy. So that creates a bunch of volatility, and we can be more strategic and look for opportunities when forward prices are low and lock in rates for the customer. So that, and I'll just finish off in the next slide talking just a little bit about sort of the steps to think about if this is of interest to you. And these steps are really set out by the statute itself. So, and I'm going to work backwards a little bit. One of the key steps that needs to take place is a favorable vote at town meeting. The voters have to agree to do this. And so when you think ahead to your March date and kind of work back from there, for the warrant selection, there needs to be, prior to town meeting, there has to be, per the statute, 2 public hearings. So those have to take place, they would have to take place in the fall. And then, again, I'm working backwards here to the very next step, would be for the select board to vote to move forward and set up an aggregation committee. And so Colonial, for example, would work with the committee to craft a plan. We have, and I should have said this up front, I apologize. So Colonial right now is working formally with the towns of Hampton, Northampton, Londonderry, and Lincoln. And so we've already developed a plan that has been seen by the Utility Commission, and they've accepted it. So we would just leverage off of that body of work for you as well. So those are really the highlights. I'd be happy to take any questions that you may have at this time.
Madam Chair, next question. Who is part of the electric aggregation committee? Who determines that?
That would be up to you, or in your normal process, however you wish to create that committee.
Okay. If, I can follow-up.
No, go ahead.
This is an opt-out program, as you said, so everyone's in it by default. How many times can someone opt in and opt out? In other words, I shop for my rates now. I don't buy from Eversource. I'm with Direct Energy right now. That's who I use. They've always been the cheapest. So I go into this program, and your rates are higher than Direct Energy, and I want to opt out and switch to Direct Energy. Does that change that?
No, you're free to do that. You can, for folks like yourself who are really attentive to this thing and looking for the best opportunities, you can come in and out of the program without the program imposing any cost or exit fee on you.
Okay, so you can do it 4 times a year. I mean, there's no limit, like.
That's right.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. And I should add, we typically, I mean, unless we get different guidance from the Select Board or the Energy Committee, we typically focus these programs to sort of the customer base that currently doesn't have a lot of great options. So it's residential and small commercial. Any larger businesses you may have in town, they're likely been doing this now for 2 decades. And they almost always can get better prices on their own anyway. So the contract would typically have some language that does put some limits around large commercial customers. Because if you give them the same sort of unfettered access to come and go, it can impact the price for everyone else. But you as an individual coming and going, no, it's kind of gets lost in the rounding.
I got more questions. Nobody just keep asking my questions, Madam
Yeah,
Chair?
go ahead.
So 50% of the town opts out after this is passed. What's the impact of the program?
Yeah, you're saying just before launch and half of the customers say, I want no part of this.
What's the point of killing the program for participation?
Well, I mean, it's an excellent question. I think part of how I want to answer that is we currently have some fairly small communities where we don't have much difficulty having suppliers interested in bidding on the equivalent of half your load of Ossipee. So that would be a shocker if that happened, but we'd still be able to move forward because the supplier would see that, they'd see that half isn't there, and they'd be able to adjust accordingly.
Another question I have. The contract term is determined at the town meeting vote, or is that something that's, in other words, this is a one-shot deal at town, the town adopts it going forward. How is the contract term determined? Is it every year, every 2 years?
Right. So what the town is voting on is that they're agreeing that yes, we'd like the town to have a program. And I think as you're understanding, at that time, they're not voting on term or anything like that. So they're giving the okay for the administration and the senior leadership in town to over time make those decisions around when to buy, what contract term length, short, long, and that sort of thing.
Okay. And there is no administrative duties on behalf of the town once this becomes an accepted program?
That's right. Yeah. So a key part of our services is just to provide turnkey services for the town, so that there's no impact and no drain on your resources. So naturally, or I shouldn't say naturally, but probably the town will get some calls. People want to see what's going on, and we want you to redirect those calls to us so that we can answer them and address any issues or concerns.
And one more on rates. I know you couldn't quote rates, but do you know what a current rate may be right now? Because I know what I'm paying at home, and I would just, if this program got instituted tomorrow, do you have any idea what the rate might be?
Yeah, I mean, snapshot, and I can't give you a precise rate, but snapshot in time, I mean, probably rates right now are in the lower 11-cent range. And I say that thinking about like a 2-year term or so. But just to expand on that and a little more generally, so oftentimes folks will ask, well, what's been the history with these programs? I mean, have these programs actually realized savings? And they have. Now you have to look at it sort of over a time period, because I'm not going to stand up here and say any of these programs will always and absolutely be below the utility rate. Because like I said, with using Eversource as an example, sometimes the alarm clock goes off and they get lucky and they're buying power at the perfect time. I didn't see that perfect time coming, right? So there could be a 6-month period where a program rate is a bit higher than the utility rate. But over time, what we've seen, and there have been some independent studies looking at this, savings in general may be between 8 and 12% over a span of time. And to be clear, that's on the supply portion of the bill, because of course the delivery side remains unchanged.
And that savings is compared to the traditional supplier, not somebody who shops E&H or...
That's correct. That's making comparisons to the utility supply service.
So for somebody who's hyper savvy and sensitive, they may be able to eke out some additional savings, but for somebody who's never done this and doesn't want to look into it, they would default to...
That's right. Right, because you're, in one thing you're touching on is the fact that really what the town is trying to offer is options for those customers who have never left the utility ever.
Yep.
But yes, for consumers who are savvy and willing to kind of take the time, they may well, if you're really good at it, you may well do better staying in that environment.
Any other questions, Madam Chair? No, I got one. If the program gets adopted in March, what's the time frame before it actually goes online, where it's being administered as a program to save?
Right, thank you. So the voters say, yeah, let's go. At that point, then we're just finalizing the plan. And again, all the plan work had been done in advance of town meeting, but we're just any final tweaks that are necessary. Then we would file that plan, inside of a month with the Public Utility Commission. They've been reviewing and approving these plans inside of 2 months. So that puts us in sort of the May time frame for when the program can go live.
So there may be some people that already have contracts, like with Direct Energy or these others, that have cancellation fees. So now what happens, they're opting into this, what happens with that fee that someone may charge on an existing contract?
Oh, with the Direct Energy fee?
No, Direct Energy doesn't charge a fee, but there are companies that have cancellation fees,
Yes.
that someone may be locked in for 2 years.
Right.
And then there's a cancellation fee. Who's going to pay that cancellation fee? Because now they're opted in by default.
Well, no, so thank you for asking. So what happens is, so now I'm jumping ahead, so the plan's approved and we've gone out to RFP, the town has signed a contract, and let's just say it's a December 2024 start, right? So we are going to get a list of customer names from the utility company, and it'll have a breakdown of here's the customers that are on Eversource Supply Service, here's the customers that are not on Eversource Supply Services. We're only going to mail opt-out notices to those customers on Eversource, because we don't accidentally, to your point, accidentally roll in someone who's actually on a contract.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that person would stay with his existing contract till it expired, then it would default into it, I guess?
They would have to opt in, right?
They'd have to opt in.
Oh, they'd have to opt in?
Yeah. And what we'll do, what we do over time is we'll check in with the utility maybe every quarter, every 6 months, and say, hey, can you give us your current list of customers on basic service? Because there's always sort of a natural churn of new customers moving into town, and so we send out periodic opt-out mailings to folks who are new to town, or have maybe come off of their third-party contract and have just kind of gone to utility, perhaps not being aware of this program.
I got one more question, then I'll be done, I promise. It passes in March, it gets implemented, and then, say, the following March, people say, I want out, and they voted out. What's the impact? Is there anything negative?
No, well, as long as, so, the town will want to complete whatever contract term they commit to.
So they would have to, if we agreed to a 2-year term, let's just say, we're obligated to stay with that.
Yeah.
We couldn't opt out of town meeting without a penalty?
Well, there's no, I mean, the way our contracts are written, there's no explicit, there's not a paragraph in there that says if the town defaults, the town owes X.
Okay.
There's general language around if the town defaults, the supplier reserves all rights to take action. Would they? Probably not, but we've never had this situation of a town, terminating a contract early. But I think, maybe more broadly, sort of setting aside the term of the contract. If the town at any time wants to just stop doing the program, they certainly can. And then we step out of your life. We get out of the way.
I think Matt has a question.
Madam Chair. So on energy.nh.gov, there's a bunch of towns. So if you go to shop your rates, as several of us in the room have made clear we do, you'll see a bunch of towns who have already adopted a program like this. I've never tried to take the next step to experiment, but I'm guessing it would be limited or no that I wasn't a resident of that town and I'm not eligible, right? And in turn, Ossipee would be limited to Ossipee residents. There'd be some mechanism so that someone else in a different town didn't get our great rate that you're going to get for us, right?
That's correct. So the utility companies in their systems, they're able to identify, where people live, right? So to your point, you'd only be able to opt into the Ossipee program. Yeah.
Okay, anything, sir? No? What's that, John?
I'm done with my questions. Thanks for answering them.
Thank you.
I have a question, Madam Chair, I'm just trying to follow you here. And correct me if I'm misunderstanding what you're saying, but we're starting a committee, or we have to form a committee to decide to give you what we think we want, and you're going to negotiate, or your company is going to negotiate what our rate will be through them, and you're going to get paid through a fee at the other end, through the provider.
Correct.
Right? So far, am I following along?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
okay.
And let me add just one amendment to what you just said. So we'll run a competitive solicitation on behalf of the town. The town will be involved in making all decisions. So in other words, we don't want you to sort of give us a white piece of paper. So it's always going to be, perhaps it's with the town administrator, whatever the select board decides, the town officials make decisions around term, around supplier selection. We try to make it as easy as possible, but the decision-making stays.
Well, it says so the committee would be formed. The committee would make recommendations to the selectmen or the administrator or whoever. Is that what you're saying? And
Yeah.
then they would be the ones dealing with you on what the town wants and how we want to do a contract.
Yeah, I think what I anticipate the way it works, the committee that needs to be set up per the statute, that's to design the program, to run through the initial process of getting the program launched. After we get all the regulatory approval, and included in the plan, the town will define who's going to have ongoing responsibility for the program. And sorry, Matt, but a lot of times it's the town administrator who's sort of the go-to person, even though the select board may be making final sign-off. But so I guess part of what I'm saying is the Energy Committee can be a committee that only sits for a year or more. It doesn't have to be an ongoing thing.
Okay, so that's just in the beginning phases of it.
Right.
To figure out where we're at. And then after that point, it would be handled probably through Matt as the town administrator and your company, then, right? And
Right.
You guys would set up a contract, and we would know after the fact, basically. We've got a 1-year contract, we have a 2-year contract, and no money comes from the town. So
Right.
basically,
Right.
everything gets paid through this fee. So does that add cost to our electric fee by having that fee get paid out, and we could probably just negotiate it ourselves?
Does it add cost
Well,
to the
yeah,
rest of the
because the
electric?
fee that we're gonna be paying you to negotiate for us is gonna be added on to our bill, basically, because they're not gonna lose that.
Yeah,
They're
so,
gonna add it on.
yeah, right, so our fee is added to the program rate for any resident in town that's
Right.
participating in the program, right? But this is all apart from Eversource or the co-op.
Right.
Right.
Well, I understand. We can negotiate right now without it, though. I mean, you negotiated yours.
Yeah, as an individual, but not as
an
not as a
individual.
town.
Right, but individuals in the town can do that now without having to worry about opting out of a program that the town has pretty much said you have to do this right now, right? Or they don't have to do it. When you do this, when we negotiate this deal, then we have to do it, and the town has to say, I don't want to be part of it, or the person, individual has to say, I don't want to be part of it. They won't know. They won't know. A couple years from now, nobody will know that even exists if we vote for it. And then they'll just automatically be in, and they won't know that they have to opt out.
I mean, we do try, I mean, you're hitting a point, it's always a challenge to get people's attention, let's put it that way. And so, we're gonna, before, in advance of this program kicking off, we're gonna make ourselves available to come up and do whatever meetings the select board decides they wanna do. A lot of times important meetings are meeting with, if you happen to have a senior center in town or an active group, that's top of the list to make sure that we're engaging as much as possible with people. Using the town's website, we will set up a URL dedicated for the town to direct people to. If there's public TV in town that we can tap into. Anything that the town has found effective in terms of communicating to residents, we want to leverage that as much as possible.
And I get that. I'm just trying to follow along with what it actually is going to, how it's going to benefit the town. Other than the town selectmen or administrators will be looking at, this is the best rate for everybody. We're going to lock in for 2 years, and all of a sudden it changes, and it's not the best rate for everybody. We're stuck with it. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but you have the option to opt out of the program. If you determine that it's not the best rate for you, you can opt out and go shop the price on your own.
Right, so I'm still following along.
Right.
I'm still trying to figure out why this is necessary, and that may be just me. And sometimes it takes me a little while. I'll keep an eye on this, and then I'll come back.
Well, but yeah, it's not going to be for everybody. I mean, there are going to be people who is like, I want to do this myself. I've done well over the years, and that's fine.
I just have to say, this reminds me of the broadband district conversation that we had, and it sounds very similar to it. So I'm not 100% sure that it is. It's a little bit different because you're getting paid through the fees, which that is completely different there. Okay. Just still not sure.
Sure.
And I'm listening. I don't want to keep talking.
No, great question. Thank you.
Are those informational sheets or the presentation, are we going to have a copy of that? Or is
Yes. Yep.
is that in our computer?
I have it in my
Oh,
email,
you
I
have it,
can
okay.
turn it into PDF and share it.
Okay, good.
Great. Is it all right?
Glenn wants to speak.
I just wanted to go back. In your experience with the towns that you've serviced here and in Massachusetts, could you have an estimate on the number of residents that have opted out of the program to begin with? Maybe because they do their own shopping.
Right. It's been interesting and consistent, meaning the initial opt-out across communities is probably at 8 to 12%. I don't recall it being maybe there's a town that's closer to 15%. But about in that range. And then even as the program, has continued to operate, it still kind of maintains in about that same area.
Okay, no more questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate all your time.
Thank you. Thanks, Brian, for coming, Katie.
Okay, let's go on with the business meeting. Have the town of Ossipee check out the
Can I just ask one
totals?
question? So
Sure.
if we want to proceed with the board vote, I guess we'll have to have town administrator reach out to you, or?
Well, do you want us all to come back for when you are thinking of doing a meeting, or a vote? Is that what you're?
Well, I'm just asking, like, just say the board wants to decide to go forward with something here. Do we reach back out to any of you, or?
So the next step, or the next action for the board to take, if it chooses to, is be to create, to vote positively that yes, we'd like to proceed,
Right.
and at the same time, perhaps direct the, or however you do it,
Yeah.
direct the administrator to create an energy committee,
Right.
or the board can kind of create an energy committee. We don't have to be present for that, but by all means, use me as a point of contact to, if you have questions about
Right.
sort of next steps and details.
Okay.
Happy to help.
Thanks.
And please keep us involved so
Yeah.
we can help along the way also. If, if we need to do anything for you down in Concord, we're glad to do that too.
You're good at it, Katie. Great, thanks.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, this is a voucher totals for the week ending September 12th. Total payroll was $45,834.65. Accounts payable general fund was $96,610.43. Fire precincts were paid $146,029.86. School payment for the month was $120,407. Total fund payments for the week was $408,881.94. Make a motion to approve these.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, have the Selectmen's workshop session for Monday, August 14th minutes. I made a motion to approve these.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That was from the last meeting?
That was the meeting you missed.
Okay, I abstained from that one then.
Okay, then this one is.
I missed the date.
And I have the regular Selectmen's meeting minutes for August 14th. Make a motion to approve these. That's Sue and me.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I abstain,
Okay.
wasn't present.
Then we have the Selectmen's workshop session for Monday, August 28th. Make a motion to approve these.
I'll second that.
John is second, right, and all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I abstain. You abstain. Okay, that's it for me.
I have a water sewer warrant in the amount of $80. I make a motion, we approve this warrant.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I have another water and sewer warrant in the amount of $160. I make a motion, we approve this warrant.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I have another warrant for water and sewer in the amount of $22,782.69. I make a motion, we approve this warrant.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I have a water and sewer warrant in the amount of $12,310.22. I make a motion, we approve this warrant.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I have a water sewer warrant in the amount of $19,212. This is for all the septic haulers. Make a motion to approve this.
Second?
All those in favor? Aye. I have a notice of decision from the planning board. It's case number 23-08 SPR for 18 Moultonville Road, tax map 92, lot 79, was granted a site plan review. And the file for review. That's all I have.
Matt, over to you.
Nothing additional, thank you.
Just they're gonna start fine grading Blake Hill and Huckins Road next week, so they should be paving soon, because they won't usually pave right after they fine grade, so I think by the end of the week, maybe next week, they'll be paving.
Okay, I guess we'll open it up for a second public input. Nothing more? Being no other business, I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
4:55.
The next meeting will be July 25th, 4:15. Not July, September.
Not July, right?
We're back.